Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep, deep diving into the world of true crime and unsolved mysteries.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, and our source material today, it comes from an intriguing Arabic website.
Okay.
It's called, also pronounced Scatash.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this isn't, your typical true crime blog.
Right.
We're talking articles, maybe even videos, all delving into some seriously compelling cases.
I was going to say what really stood out to me was just the sheer variety of content on Scapish.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a mix of solved mysteries and cold cases, even some stories that sort of lean towards the paranormal.
Yeah, you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, giving us a broad spectrum of the strange and unexplained.
Exactly. And the headlines themselves, I was hooked right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got the death of Liam Payne, a member of One Direction in Argentina.
Wow.
And there's the arrest of Diddy, the billionaire rapper, on charges so serious they're being called unprecedented. And hold on tight, because we've even got the arrest of Tupac Shakur's killer.
What?
After 27 years.
That's incredible, especially a case like Tupac's. It continues to fascinate us even decades later.
Yeah.
There's a persistent human need for answers for closure.
Oh, for sure.
That drives our interest in these mysteries.
Absolutely. And Scottish seems to tap right into that. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
They also have a story about the first vampire in history.
Oh, really?
Claiming this individual killed 14 people. No, that's a headline that grabs your attention.
It does, although, I'd probably approach that one with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, yeah, of course.
While sensationalism definitely sells, it's important to remember that we're likely not dealing with a literal vampire here.
Right.
More probable is that we're looking at an individual whose crimes were just so horrific that they earned that chilling moniker.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into the specifics then, starting with the case that immediately jumped out at me, Liam Payne's death in Argentina. According to Scottish, he posted, "It's a beautiful day in Argentina," right before being found dead in his hotel room.
Chilling.
I know.
What I find intriguing is the lack of details surrounding his death. Was there an official investigation? What were the findings? The site doesn't specify.
Right.
And that post, "It's a beautiful day in Argentina," raises some questions. Was it genuinely from Liam, or could someone else have posted it?
Yeah, it's like a puzzle with missing pieces. You'd think the death of a global pop star would generate more coverage.
You would think so.
But it seems shrouded in mystery. Scottish mentions some theories circulating online, but they're pretty vague.
It's that vagueness that I find most curious. Almost feels like there's a deliberate effort to keep information under wraps.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you want more information out there?
Right. Maybe there are legal reasons, or maybe someone is trying to protect Liam's reputation.
Yeah, protect his image.
Whatever the reason, it definitely adds to the intrigue.
Speaking of high-profile cases shrouded in mystery, let's move on to Diddy's arrest. Scottish calls it a complete shock, emphasizing how rare it is for a billionaire rapper,
Right.
someone of Diddy's stature, to face serious charges, let alone be arrested by the FBI.
And they take it a step further by stating that the charges against him are so serious that no other celebrity has faced them before.
Wow.
That's a bold claim. It makes you wonder what could possibly warrant such unprecedented action from law enforcement.
Right. It's like we're talking about a whole new category of crime here. What could Diddy have possibly done that's so different, so serious that it sets a new legal precedent? Scottish just doesn't give us specifics, but they do mention that the charges have sent shockwaves through the music industry and beyond.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
This case has the potential to reshape how we view celebrity accountability and the limits of wealth and influence.
For sure.
If these charges lead to a conviction, it could set a precedent for how high-profile individuals are held accountable for their actions.
Okay, let's shift gears now to a case that's been cold for decades, the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
This is a cultural touchstone, a mystery that has captivated people for years.
Tupac's death in 1996 left a massive void in the music world
Absolutely.
and spawned countless conspiracy theories. The fact that it remained unsolved for so long only added to its mystique.
And then, out of the blue, Scatacish reports that an arrest was finally made after 27 years. They mention confessions as a key factor in cracking the case.
Interesting.
It makes you wonder who finally broke their silence after all this time and what secrets they revealed.
It is interesting that they highlight confessions specifically. Does this mean multiple people came forward? Were these confessions recent, or were they perhaps overlooked for years?
Right.
And what kind of corroborating evidence led investigators to finally make an arrest?
That's what I'm so curious about. It's easy to imagine new evidence emerging after all this time, maybe from advances in DNA technology or from witnesses finally feeling safe enough to come forward.
Or perhaps a combination of both. It's a testament to the fact that even the most enduring mysteries can be solved. Justice may be delayed, but it's not always denied.
Now, before we delve into some of the other intriguing cases on Scottish, let's talk about the one that really pushes the boundaries of belief, the story of the first vampire in history.
I understand the appeal of that headline, but I'd caution against taking it literally. However, Scottish does make it clear that this individual's actions caused widespread panic and fear in their country.
Really?
They even mention the Ministry of Defense getting involved, which suggests a level of concern that goes beyond your typical criminal case.
That's what makes it so fascinating. So how many victims are we talking about, and what made this killer's method so uniquely horrifying that they earned the title of vampire?
According to Scottish, there were 14 victims in total. As for the methods, those details remain unclear, but the implication is that they were brutal and bloodthirsty, fueling the vampire myth.
Oh, wow.
It's likely that the combination of the high victim count and the brutality of the crimes led to this sensationalized label.
And it definitely plays on our primal fears. The idea of a predator lurking in the shadows, preying on innocent victims, is a chilling thought. It speaks to our deepest anxieties about vulnerability and the potential for darkness within humanity.
Precisely. And the fact that this story continues to fascinate people today speaks to our enduring fascination with the dark side of human nature.
Okay, before we wrap up part one of our deep dive into Scottish,
Yeah.
let's touch on some of the other intriguing titles that caught our eye. We've got The Hollywood Ripper, The Evil Blonde, and even collections of scary real-life stories. It's like a buffet of true crime and horror.
And despite their diverse settings and circumstances, these stories often tap into our deepest fears: betrayal, obsession, revenge.
Well, yeah.
They offer a glimpse into the darkest corners of the human psyche, forcing us to confront the complexities of good and evil.
It's like looking into a distorted mirror where we see glimmers of ourselves reflected back but magnified, taken to extremes. It's both disturbing and captivating. And it makes me wonder, what is it about these stories, about the darker side of humanity, that continues to fascinate us?
That's a question we'll explore further in part 2 of our deep dive, but for now we'll leave you with that thought. Join us next time as we continue to unpack the mysteries and the psychology behind the cases featured on Scottish. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Scottish as we continue to explore these captivating cases. I think it's important to remember that true crime isn't just about the facts of a case.
Right, it's about the human element, the motivations, the consequences, and the ripple effects that these crimes have on individuals and society as a whole.
Exactly, and that's what makes these stories so compelling. They offer a glimpse into the complexities of human nature, both the good and the bad.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. We were just discussing the case of the so-called first vampire. Now, I know we agreed to approach that title with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right.
But I'm still curious about the specifics. What can you tell us about the context of this case?
Well, according to Scottish, this case took place in a country where superstition and folklore are deeply ingrained in the culture. This context is important because it likely influenced how the crimes were perceived and reported.
That's interesting. So you're suggesting that the vampire label might have been a way for people to make sense of something that was truly terrifying and outside their realm of understanding.
It's certainly a possibility, and it speaks to the power of storytelling and how we use narratives, even supernatural ones, to explain the unexplainable, especially when confronted with a violence that seems to defy rational explanation.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the victims? Scottish mentioned 14 people. Was there a specific profile that connected them?
Unfortunately, the website doesn't go into detail about the victims' backgrounds or any potential connections between them. However, they do highlight the widespread panic that these crimes cause, suggesting that the victims were perceived as random and vulnerable.
It's almost like a classic horror movie scenario where the killer strikes seemingly at random, leaving a trail of fear and uncertainty in their wake. No one feels safe and everyone suspects their neighbor.
Exactly, and that's the power of fear. It can paralyze communities and make even the most rational people question their own perceptions.
Let's shift gears now and revisit some of the other intriguing cases on Scottish. We briefly touched on the Hollywood Ripper and the Evil Blonde. What can you tell us about these cases, and do you see any common threads running through them?
Both of these cases, at least from the brief descriptions on Scottish, seem to revolve around the idea of a charming and charismatic individual who hides a dark secret. They present a facade of normalcy while engaging in acts of extreme violence.
So a classic case of duality, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde scenario. where appearances can be deceiving. It's a theme that seems to recur in true crime, reminding us that we never truly know what lurks beneath the surface.
Precisely, and it plays on our fascination with the idea that evil can wear a familiar face, that it can blend in seamlessly with our everyday lives.
It's a chilling thought for sure,
Yeah.
and it makes you question your own judgment of character. Can you ever truly know someone? Or are we all susceptible to being deceived by appearances?
Those are questions that philosophers and psychologists have grappled with for centuries, and true crime cases like these bring those questions to the forefront, forcing us to confront the complexities of human nature and the potential for darkness that exists within us all.
Okay, so we've explored cases that involve deception, fear, and the darker impulses of human nature. But what about the pursuit of justice? Let's circle back to the arrest in the Tupac Shakur case. What are your thoughts on how this cold case was finally cracked after 27 years?
I think it's a testament to the persistence of investigators and the advancements in forensic technology, while Skadakash focuses on confessions as the key element. I suspect there's more to the story.
You're thinking about DNA evidence, witness testimony that was perhaps previously overlooked, or even new investigative techniques that weren't available back then.
Exactly. It's likely a combination of factors that led to this breakthrough, and it underscores the importance of never giving up on cold cases, no matter how much time has passed.
It's a hopeful message, for sure. Justice may be delayed, but it's not always denied.
Indeed. And in a world where it often feels like justice is elusive, cases like this offer a glimmer of hope that even the most complex and enduring mysteries can be solved.
And that brings us to an interesting point. We've talked about the darkness, the fear, and the pursuit of justice in these true crime cases. But I think there's another element at play here, our own fascination with the unknown. Why are we so drawn to these stories, even if they make us uncomfortable?
It's a complex question with no easy answers, but I think part of it has to do with our innate desire for understanding. We crave order and meaning in a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable.
So you're saying that by engaging with these true crime stories, we're trying to make sense of the darkness, to find patterns and explanations for things that seem senseless.
Exactly. It's a way of processing our anxieties about the world around us, and perhaps on some level, it's also a way of reminding ourselves that we're not alone in our fears.
It's almost like a shared experience, a
Yeah.
collective exploration of the darker side of humanity that allows us to confront our own vulnerabilities in a safe space.
Precisely. And that shared experience can be both cathartic and illuminating.
Okay, as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive, I want to bring our focus back to you, the listener. What are your thoughts on these cases? What resonates with you the most?
And more importantly, what questions do these stories raise for you? What compels you to keep listening, to keep exploring the world of true crime?
We encourage you to consider these questions as we move into part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll delve further into the psychological and societal implications of these captivating cases. Welcome back to the deep dive. So as we wrap up our exploration of Scottish and the cases that have captivated us, I'm struck by how these stories, despite their darkness, they seem to tap into something universal about the human experience.
Yeah, it's true. Whether it's the pursuit of justice, the struggle to make sense of senseless acts, or the fascination with the unknown, these themes, they resonate with people from all walks of life.
And that brings us to a question we posed earlier. Why are we as humans so drawn to true crime? What is it about these stories that compels us to keep listening, keep reading, keep watching?
I think in part it's about confronting our own vulnerabilities by exploring the darker aspects of humanity through these cases. We're forced to acknowledge that none of us are immune to the potential for evil.
It's almost like a form of exposure therapy, a way of processing our anxieties about the world in a controlled environment. We can explore the darkness, the violence, the fear, without actually being in danger ourselves.
And perhaps by understanding the motivations and the circumstances that lead individuals to commit these acts, we can better protect ourselves and our loved ones. It's about learning from the past, even the darkest chapters, to create a safer future.
I think you've hit on something really important there. It's not just about morbid curiosity. There's a desire to understand, to learn, and to maybe even find some kind of meaning in the midst of the chaos.
Exactly, and that's why it's so crucial to engage with these stories critically, to question the narratives presented, and to consider multiple perspectives. True crime isn't just entertainment, it's a window into the human condition.
And Scottish, with its diverse collection of cases, provides us with a unique lens through which to view that condition. We've seen cases that highlight the power of fear, the allure of deception, and the enduring quest for justice.
We've also seen how cultural context and personal beliefs can shape our understanding of these events, as evidenced by the case of the so-called first vampire.
Right. That case really underscored how our interpretations of crime and violence are often influenced by the stories we tell ourselves both individually and as a society.
And that's a crucial point to remember. As we consume true crime content, it's important to be aware of our own biases, to question the sources of information, and to always strive for a balanced and nuanced understanding of these complex events.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought. These cases, as intriguing as they are not just isolated incidents. They're part of a larger tapestry of human experience, a tapestry woven with both darkness and light.
And it's up to us to learn from these stories, to engage with them thoughtfully, and to use them as a catalyst for growth and understanding.
Beautifully put. And remember, dear listener, the exploration doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue digging, to seek out your own answers, and to never stop questioning the world around you. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.